We're moving on with our series of webinars on sustainable aviation fuels and sustainability. My name is Ralf Kosman from the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, and I'm pleased to see so many with us again. Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we are talking about the role of the airports in sustainable aviation fuel upscaling, and we have two guest speakers today from the Rome International Airport, from the Aereoporti di Roma, Fiumicino, and they're going to talk about the experiences they have been making so far and the very, very ambitious objectives they have set themselves for the future. More about it in a moment. Let me please give you a brief update where we are coming from, what we are doing. We are doing these webinars in the context of the European Union Southeast Asia CCCA CORSIA project, a project funded by the European Union aiming to support the ASEAN member states in their ambitions to reduce CO2 emissions in the aviation sector. And we are supporting very concretely on the implementation of the CORSIA scheme, on the creation and implementation of the national state action plans for CO2 reductions, emission data management systems implementation support, and climate change policies advisory. Let me give you some practical information and introduce the EASA team briefly to you. As you see, it's not only me doing this, it is also Santiago Ayaleva, who's also with us today. He's a project manager. I'm the operational manager of the project, responsible for the implementation of the work plan. And we have Rebecca Freienstein, who's supporting us on communication and administration and finances. Please, if you feel that you have any questions, don't hesitate. We are going to show you also in the next slide an application called Slido that you see in the bottom right corner of your screen. You can access this and you can share, you can post any question that you have in this tool. We're going to show these questions later to the whole audience. You can also upvote on questions that you might find relevant for yourselves. And we and our guest speakers will try to do their best to answer all these questions. So anytime, please go ahead. Also in between. Now I'm struggling a little bit with my own presentation, and I hope that I'm going to show you more. Okay, here we are. So there's a free chat. Again, please, anytime, express yourself. Here is the Slido application. You can link the passcode Hotel India Echo Echo Kilo November. Hotel India Echo Echo Kilo November, or just make a quick photo of the QR code that you see here on the screen, and that gives you straight access to the Slido application. So much about technical things and formalities. So, and now I'm very, very pleased to go straight into the subject. So if you might have already seen in the invitation that we have distributed, it is about the role of the airport in the upscaling of SAF, the question of what is in for the airport as an incentive to proactively engage in the upscaling of SAF, and to talk about the green airport strategies and policies, and how they fit also in the national context, in the national state initiatives. We have here, first of all, Rossella Bussini. Rossella is the head of sustainability at the Aeroporti di Roma, dealing with the definition of sustainability strategy. She's coordinating sustainability plan projects. She's reporting and communicating ESG performance, energy transition, stakeholder engagement, and circular economy. She graduated at the University of Milano, Politecnico of Milan, in environmental engineering. And you, Rossella, you have previously held various roles as project manager in environmental and sustainability divisions in engineering companies, and also in multinational domains. So managing projects all over the world, to what I see. And I'm very pleased and thankful that you're with us today. And the second speaker is Ruggero. And Ruggero is the head of energy and decarbonization at the Aeroporti Roma. And Ruggero, you have a very impressive background. I think you're working in this field for over 30 years. You have been engaged in various EU-funded innovation and research projects, dealing with decarbonization, renewables, biofuels, power to liquid, biomethane, energy efficiency, and second life battery storages. I am not going to read everything that is written here, but you have made significant achievements already in energy reductions. You have been working throughout the world, also in Southeast Asia, but also in Africa, South America, North America. So thank you very much for being with us today, and let's dive straight into the subject matter. And we're making a start with Rossella. Rossella, if you want, please take over the floor. It's all yours.
Thank you, Raf, for the introduction, and I'm very pleased to be here today. I will share my presentation.
Yeah, it's coming over. Great. We can. Perfect. I think we can all see it, Rossella. Rossella, if I may, let me try to make a start with the first question directly. Rossella, the Aereoporti di Roma has made consistent progresses when it comes to sustainability efforts. Last June, so June this year, it was named the world's most sustainable airport by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. So just recently, you got this title. And you have set important milestones to be a leader in green transition. Could you please try to tell us more about your strategy and about your priorities?
Yes, our sustainability has been a long journey, started at the first of year 2000 with the first certification in environmental management, health and safety management, and quality management. And then we had a lot of awards and awards regarding carbon reduction. The first one in 2013 by ACA as carbon neutrality. So our airport now is carbon neutral. And 2 years ago, we have the second important accreditation from ACA about level 4 plus, the first one, the first airport in Europe. That means that we have the goal to become carbon zero in 2030. Then also we start a journey related on green finance. And we had our first green financing framework in December 2020, and with the first green bond. And then another sustainability linked bond in April 21. And this year, we have a sustainability linked revolving credit facility. So the way that we have money is linked with our sustainability plan. We also had a journey in SAF and decarbonization. We have been the first airport in Italy to make a flight using SAF. And this year we launched the Patto per la decarbonizzazione del trasporto aereo, that is an Italian alliance for put in the same table all the stakeholders and players in the aviation sector to find a roadmap, a solution to reduce our emission. So we can, this journey is made by plans, ambition, and projects. We have a sustainability plan that is divided in 3 pillars, environment, people, and development. Let's start from the first. In environment, we focus on climate change, so CO2 emission reduction and energy transition, circular economy, efficient use of resources, water, waste, and soil, reduce of acoustic impact. The first point is related to So as I told before, we have a very ambitious goal to become carbon zero in 2030. And to do this, we have several projects in pipeline. The most important one is the construction of photovoltaic plants, 70. We have first project approved just this month, and we will start construction next year. And these plans is we go together with the realization of a storage, electricity storage, and we have a first innovative project that use a second life battery to storage the energy produced during the day by the photovoltaic plant. Then we have also initiatives regarding biomethane and project regarding the electrification of our fleet. This is to reduce the emission under our control, so scope 1 and scope 2. But also we wanted to focus on scope 3, so indirect emission. And this emission can be mainly divided in emission coming from passenger accessibility and by aircraft emission. Regarding the first one, that is very important, we want to focus and to promote intermodality. That means that we are working with Ferrovie Italiane, that is the state-owned company of a train, and to make a high-speed train arrive directly in our airport. And that means that we have a direct connection with the close city like Florence or Naples, but also Venice and Bologna. And the passenger will be allowed to reach the airport directly by speed train without using their own car or short flight. And also we have a very good connection with the city of Roma that is connected with the trains. We have a train during the day every 8 minutes and also by bus. Then regarding aircraft emission, we have a plan regarding availability of SAF. My colleague Ruggero will speak in details about this one. And we have a CESAR program project. That means the optimization of taxi time and airplane movements to reduce fuel consumption. Regarding the other points of our environmental pillar, we focus a lot on circular economy. We want to become a zero waste airport, and we have the goal to reduce the amount of waste produced by each passenger by 10% by 2030. Also, we manage organic waste directly in the airport with a composting plant. And also we have a big project regarding water. In the airport, we have a dual water network that allows us to use drinking water only when it is necessary to have drinking water. And all the other water is industrial water, so coming from treatment. And it means a reduction of around 30% of drinking water consumed between 2012 and 2019. Regarding the second pillar, people. For people, we mean our people, so our employees, but also communities and where our airports are located, and the passengers. We have several initiatives regarding communities, especially addressed to young people and people at school. And while for our people, we have diversity and equal opportunities, and we have the goal to have a 30% women in management position by 2024. We have also sustainability-linked short and medium long-term incentive plan for middle and senior management. Then we have a strong ambition in health and safety to reduce occupational accident. And regarding passenger, we want to ensure high level of passenger services, and that means the overall satisfaction airport service quality by the research conducted by AC World. Let's pass to the last pillar, that is development. We have to take in mind that an airport is the gate of a country and is an engine for the development of the country. So in this pillar, we focus on green finance in developing a sustainable infrastructure without land consumption and ensure the right mobility by guaranteeing the best standard of services to our passengers. In green finance, it has been a journey, and we have a financial framework that is related with our sustainability plan. So our financial framework is related to environment. That means reduction of emission, scope 1 and scope 2 from one side and scope 3 to another side. And also to the social people pillar, it's related to the diversity, so percentage of women in a management position. We are investing a lot in green infrastructure, and the new buildings are realized without consuming additional territory. That means that we built the new building in the same place where the previous building was. It's more difficult, but also it's possible to reuse waste coming from the construction of the building and don't occupy new soils. Then we are renovating more than 60% of the terminal infrastructure surface, and all new buildings are certified LEED Gold or BREEAM. We are also investing in biodiversity. We are reducing the consumption of soil. We have an environmental monitoring system in place, and we have a lot of initiatives for naturalization projects in the area surrounding the Fiumicino airport.
Rosella, may I ask you a question briefly before you continue? You are mentioning here the so-called SLBs, so the sustainability-linked bonds. Could you try to briefly explain how these bonds, how they are working for your strategy? And do you think that could be a useful means also for our colleagues in Southeast Asia? Would you think that could be replicable?
Yes, it has been a long dialogue that we had with the financial institution and the banks, and we developed together with them this framework that is based on our sustainability plan. And it means that we set the goal, this goal. The first goal is related to reduction of scope 1 and scope 2, so to become carbon zero in 2030. The second goal is related to the reduction of scope 3, and that is a very challenging goal because it's only partially under our control. And the third one is related to diversity in our people. And the scheme is that if we have some milestone to be reached in from now to 2030, and connected to this milestone, there is a reduction of the percentage of the loan. So it's very important that we connected our financial framework and our development plan to our sustainability plan. And I think this scheme can be replicated, and it's very important because it means that you're really investing in your sustainability plan.
Thank you, Rosella. Rosella, you have also launched recently an alliance called, and I have to apologize for my Italian. It is not the very best. You call it Patto per la Decarbonisation del Trasporto Aereo. So I translate this in English as it's a pact for the decarbonization in the aviation sector. Could you briefly tell us a bit more about it, and what role are sustainable aviation fuels playing in this context?
So this is an Italian alliance that we started this year, And the aim is to put together all the actors of air transport to find a roadmap for the decarbonization of the sector. There is a steering committee that there are a lot of industrial players like air company, ENI, so energy company, ENI, Enel, and also aircraft company. But also in the steering committee, there are associations related to sustainable development, institutional stakeholders. We have the Italian Ministry of Infrastructure, the Italian Ministry of Environment, and but also institutions like ENAC, ENEA, ENAV, and an academic partner. We have chosen the Polytechnic of Milan, that is very important in Italy also for research.
Thank you, Ursula. Thank you.
Yes, the pact starts from the consideration that the aviation sector has a relatively small weight regarding carbon emission. We are under 3%, but this is not an alibi, and because the amount of CO2 emission produced by aviation is very huge. And also we have the risk of a temporary growth in the short term due to the increase of air traffic, but also that the other sector, less hard to abate, will reduce their emission. So we foresee that the aviation sector in the short term, our emission will be increased. The aviation sector is considered a hard to abate sector because we don't have the technology to reduce emission just right available. And so it's very important to put all the stakeholders, private stakeholders, companies, private companies, but also institutional stakeholders at the same table to find a solution. In absence of an adequate management of expectation, there is a real risk that the sector will find itself displaced because from hostility from the market, from the finance, but also from public opinion. In Europe, we have observed a lot of manifestation regarding climate shaming. So people say we won't use flight anymore. We have a risk of short-range restrictive policies like restriction. For example, in France, it's very recent that France blocked short flight when there is an alternative by train, and the risk of punitive policies in medium and long term like taxation. But we have to keep in mind that the sector is crucial and must be supported because the sector is very important from employment. Here there is the expectation of growing of employment rate in Europe, and also is important for the contribution to the welfare of the country. For the decarbonization, we have several, there is not one technology. We have to go on with several initiatives regarding both the infrastructure, so the airport, and both the aircraft. So we have a very wide range of possibility, starting from the reconfiguring aviation infrastructure, increasing the availability and use of sustainable fuel. That's very important. Ruggero will speak about it. Encouraging the adoption of new networking strategies, especially to reduce short flight, and developing the mitigation strategies for non-CO2 environmental emission, and accelerating the development and adoption of clean and efficient aircraft. This is very important, these two pillars, because a new aircraft can allow a very the reduction of the emission. So this will be very important for our strategies. Let's pass to technology related with our aircraft. SAF now is considered the most efficient driver for decarbonization, according to several independent institutes. Here we can find the foreseen by several studies. The use of SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, is in light blue. And from this study, the importance on SAF to reach decarbonization in 2050 goes from 30% to 53%. Other technology like hydrogen electric hybrid are in gray. And then also we have a reduction to do operational and infrastructure improvements and residual emission compensation by offsetting. So SAF is considered by all the study the most important driver, and it's also the driver that is available starting from now, while other technology like hydrogen or electric are still under development. SAF, the word of SAF can be divided into main categories: bio-based SAF from HEFA project and synthetic SAF. The first one is the more developed and available just now, but have a huge constraints that is the availability of the feedstock. So we have to take in mind that the production of SAF don't have to compete with the production of food. And there are also new technology that will produce SAF from reuse of waste. The second one, synthetic SAF, are very important, but to produce them, we need a large amount of renewable energy available. And also the price of renewable energy should be quite low to produce SAF in a big quantity. Here there are some forecasting of emission reduction, and starting from now to 2050, and we can see that the global emission will rise due to the traffic increase if we don't do anything. But with the use of SAF, so we have an expectation of 66% reduction using biofuel and e-fuel, 24% aircraft operation efficiency, reduction of emission coming from aircraft efficiency, and the last one by other technologies. So we will have in the short period an increase of emission, but in this first period from now to 2030 is the habilitation period. So in this phase, it will be very important to have a strong policy that allow development of SAF and of alternative technologies. Then we will have a transition period where the technologies will be developed, a new plant will be realized, and the availability of SAF will increase. And starting from 2040, the consolidation phase where the technologies will be available and spread in the world. The production of SAF is strongly increasing. By an estimation this year, we have 200% production more compared to the previous year. And several international players are working for the development and production of SAF. But also the cost of SAF is higher compared to the normal fuel. So it's important to have incentives to increase their availability. A lot of states are moving in this way. For example, the US provides significant tax advantages in the use of SAF. UK also is moving with a package to support SAF. And in Italy, there is a budget for Sustainable Mobility Strategy Fund that will allow a total budget of 2 billion in the starting from this year and from the next 10 years. So that's why in the Alliance of the Decarbonization of the Aviation Sector, we put also institution and the public stakeholder, because it's important that the decision maker are conscious of the problem of the aviation sector, are conscious that it's not a problem easy to solve, but we have to invest in research, to invest in the technologies, to invest in the construction of new plant. We need also a facilitation of permitting, so to reduce the time needed for the construction of new plants for producing SAF. Now we will see a video. The first part of the video is connected with the Decarbonisation Pact, and while the second one will introduce the speech of my colleagues, and it's relative to the first use of SAF in Fiumicino Airport. Thank you.
Lowering transport emissions will also help to reduce urban pollution and improve public health.
The challenge of making aviation more sustainable.
Fondamentale andare verso la decarbonizzazione anche di questo settore.
È la sfida del futuro, è la sfida della sopravvivenza del settore aereo, ma è una sfida che sono sicuro vinceremo.
Thank you very much, Rossella. Let me just briefly kick in and reintroduce Ruggero to the audience and hand over the floor straight back to you. We have received some interesting questions in the meantime. Maybe it is better we continue from now on and come back to these questions later all together. And we are making a start with Ruggero. Ruggero, ready to go? At the moment, you're muted, I think. I cannot hear you.
Now you can hear me? Because
perfect, very good. We have a good picture and the presentation, and we can hear you well. Santu, let me start with a straight question forward. What is the role of airports in the upscaling of SAF? Please tell us.
Yes, that's quite a good question, because at the end of the day, SAF is produced by a major oil company, and then airline purchases SAF from the oil company. So there isn't actually a role of the airport in between this relationship between the two, so the airline and the SAF producer. But let's start to have a look to what are the benefits for the airports of having SAF. So the first benefit is in having SAF delivered at the own airports is the support of the decarbonization of aviation in line with the airport's GHG reduction goals. As Rossella said before, we have, as a measure of the airports, a scope 1 and 2 reduction goals, but then we have also a scope 3 reduction goal. The scope 3 reduction goal is strictly related to the SAF purchased by the airline. So the scope 3 emission for an airport are the emission due to the consumption of fuel within the airport. So they are a large quantity. The sum of scope 1 plus scope 2 plus scope 3 in an airport 90% of the emissions comes from scope 3, that is this jet fuel emission. So this is the first role. The second role is the support that we as airport could give to the airline in growing SAF demand. And then the third role is a better air quality and less pollution at airport location, because it's been demonstrated, and I will explain you later, that using SAF, there is not only a benefit worldwide, reducing the CO2 emission, but there is also a local benefit in the air quality and less pollution. Finally, the use of existing infrastructure is an opportunity, but there are also opportunities to investment in improved fuel farms distribution at the airports. So these are the four main benefits for the airports. Then, if we have a look in more detail, the scope 3 reduction is divided in several categories. In the case of airport, there are scope 3 Cat 1, 11 emissions that are linked, as I said before, to the SAF used by airline at the specific airports. We have issued, as you said before, more than 1 billion euro in green finance. And when we have been talking with the banks, from Bank of America to Crédit Agricole to Barclays and so on and so forth, every bank asked us to have a commitment in reducing scope 3 emissions. So for the finance world, it's fine that we commit to scope 1 and 2, that are the emissions coming from the airport, but they need also the airport to get engaged in reducing scope 3 emissions. So this is very, very important to be understood by the airports. The second benefit are, as I said before, less particulates, specifically sulfur oxide emissions, and decrease airport pollution and improve air quality at the airport. But there are also non-CO2 benefits in the emission, so less contrail using SAF. And finally, the airport could decrease the airport staff business trip using book and claim, so using SAF for the trip of the employee of the airport. We have done a research, and here there is a map. Maybe it's not fully updated with the latest news, but you can see the airports that are regularly offering SAF with the orange. There is quite some airport in Europe and in US, and also some in Far East. And there are other airports, like our airports, where we have received a batch of SAF, and we hopefully are going to offer regularly SAF to the airlines. This study we have done has been founded by an European Union Horizon 2020 research program and innovation that we won a couple of years ago with Alight. Alight is the name of this project. It is a project studying introduction of sustainable aviation solution for the future, and SAF for sure is one of these solutions, if not the more important. Within this consortium, we have 4 airports, from Copenhagen to Lithuania airports to Rome airports, and new airports in Poland. Then we have IATA, we have some university, you have the German Aerospace Center, and we have also RSB, who is very important in the role of certifying biofuel. And recently, also Boeing asked Airbus asked to come with us in this project. The supply chain of SAF is start with the feedstock, and feedstock play a very important role. The bio feedstock have a quite different CO2 footprint. There are some feedstock that the emission using this kind of feedstock is more or less the same as the emission of using fossil fuels. So there are no advantage at all. But then we have some other feedstock, like used cooked oil, that is one of the best. And if the feedstock is used cooked oil, we can reduce by 90% the emissions of SAF. Then this feedstock goes to biorefinery, and this biorefinery needs to be designed and constructed to do this kind of business. And then there is the transportation of the neat SAF, the blending that is done generally previous of the airport, so arrives to the airport just blended. And then there is a storage within the airports and the delivery generally with the hydrogen system to the aviation. The SAF is delivered to the airports in two ways. The first way is via tanker. So there is a truck that goes from the refinery to the airport, and then with another truck, it is go to the aircraft. The second way is using pipeline or ship. So there is a ship or pipeline that transport SAF from the refinery to the deposit in the airport with the pipeline. And then there is also a difference in the way the SAF is distributed into the airport, to the airlines. One way is from the deposit of the airport to the airplane with a truck. And in this case, the SAF physically go to that flight, that specific flight. The second way that is used generally in the bigger airports is to use the common hydrogen system. The common hydrogen system is a network that is going to all the airports and distributing generally the jet fuel. So what happens? From the deposit, the SAF is injected into this grid, into the pipeline under the apron, and it goes to the aircraft. The problem is that this goes to all the aircraft. It doesn't go to the specific aircraft. So in this case, there is a separation between the physical molecule that goes to all the aircraft and, let's say, the administrative certificate. So an airline purchases the SAF from the oil company, and then it receives the credit of this SAF, but physically it doesn't receive this SAF. In the airports where there are this pipeline and common hydrogen system, this is commonly used, and also the way we use this SAF. And it uses the mass balance, that is this way to calculate how the SAF goes to the aircraft. Okay. So
Ruggero, if I may, I understand you have been signing a dedicated supply agreement with the Eni. Can you tell us a bit more about the biggest challenges that you had when you started working with sustainable aviation fuels? Anything concretely from your past experiences? Sorry for interrupting you.
No, thank you for the question. Yes, when we started the supply of SAF at Fiumicino Airport, it was the 15th of October 2021, and we were the first airport in Italy to make available sustainable aviation fuel at an airport. And the sustainable aviation fuel is certified ASTM, so theoretically it could be treated as a normal jet fuel. But we discovered that it is not so, because all the different stakeholders that are operating in the airports was looking to the SAF as a specific and different and brand new product. So we have to go through some problems, specifically some administrative problems, some check more than the normal fuel. And we want to test both the way to deliver SAF. So at the beginning, we delivered 30,000 kilos of SAF via a tank, and we feed directly 7 ITA aircraft that were refueling with this SAF, and so that they take flight with this SAF on board. Then we tested the second way to deliver SAF at an airport, that is via ship. So a ship, you see before into the short film, arrived at Civitavecchia port, and then with the pipelines arrived at the Rome airports. And then here in Rome airports, this SAF was delivered with the network, with the hydrogen system. The molecule went to all the aircraft that were connected in that moment. But the ITA Airways route, 2 ITA Airways route, were refueled with this SAF for 1 year because the ship brought 3,000 tons of SAF. So it was a large quantity of SAF. But in this way, we have tested both the kind of delivery to the airport and both the kind of delivery to the aircraft. So physically delivered to an aircraft, of delivery to the aircraft, let's say, with the mass balance. And this was possible thanks to a LIRF project. Here is a short slide that highlights all the different steps we have to take to deliver the tanker. And there were some custom aspects, regulatory authorization, logistical, security check, and so on and so forth. And it takes 5 or 6 days to do this activities. Organization, 5 or 6 days to organize the delivery of the truck. This is the journey of the ship. It left from Taranto refinery, that is south of Italy, and went to Civitavecchia port. And then from Civitavecchia port, it makes around 50-60 kilometers with pipelines, and then finally arrived at the airport. And in the airport was delivered, as we saw before. It's very important, the difference between the two. So you can imagine a ship carrying 3,000 tons is completely different from hundreds of trucks carrying 30 tons. So it's very important to optimize the logistic chain that brings the SAF to the airport. And in this case, there is a very, very important news, that is book and claim approach for the airlines. So as we saw before in the 2 slides before, SAF could arrive physically to the airport and then could be delivered to the aircraft. But there is another way that is going through some research, and one of these research is done by RSB, also within the LIRF project framework. Book and claim is completely different project. The airline purchases the SAF from the oil company. Then the SAF goes to the market everywhere. It doesn't go to a specific airport. It doesn't go to specific airlines, but the airline could claim this SAF. And there are a certification scheme, very, very secure certification scheme, that guarantee this kind of link between the SAF purchased and the SAF claimed. So the book and claim is completely different from the offsetting, are two completely different things. Book and claim is a company investing in emission reduction in this value chain, while offsetting are disconnected with the company value chain. Then, if something of you knows, offsetting is based on 1 ton of CO2, while book and claim, the unit of traceability is 1 metric ton of certified SAF. So it is not a carbon trading system. And 1 ton of CO2 reduction with SAF costs more or less 100 times more than 1 ton of CO2 reduction with an offsetting. So also here there are completely different things. And the reduction with SAF brings 100 times more value to the buyer, because it's real SAF that goes on an aircraft. It's connected, this book and claim, also with the regulatory existing system, with Corsia, for example. And book and claim is additional because speed up the use of SAF and reduce effectively the cost. So we believe that book and claim is a robust and credible way to reduce CO2 emission and speed up the decarbonization. Because also here, at the end of the day, the airline will purchase SAF where the cost is less. And to have a lower cost of SAF, the supply chain should be as short as possible. It should be preferably with pipelines or ships, not without trucks. So, how the airports have been supporting SAF? We have done some research with the LIRF, and we discovered that there are 4 main ways of the airports supporting SAF. The first one is supporting SAF research and development. There are some airports all around the world that have been investing in SAF research in the last 10 years, 5 years. And this is very useful because develop the knowledge about SAF. Then the second pillar is the airline advocacy from the airport and the policy advocacy for the airport, as said before my colleague Marcella. The policy advocacy especially is very important to support SAF development. Third, there's a financial support. So there are some airports that gives incentive schemes of SAF supply to this airport, but this is not allowed all around the world. There are some countries that don't allow the airport to supply SAF. and financial support SAF. The fourth pillar is the passenger communication. The airports can communicate SAF to a larger audience, for example, to passenger, business and leisure, to airlines, and to different kinds of shareholders and investors. Then the airport could deliver its message about SAF education, sustainability and goal alignment about sustainability. And then the airport could use different web channels, media channels, business to business material, and so on. And also use different kind of material. So the airport could communicate SAF and raise the awareness of SAF. We had made a survey in Rome Airport, asking to more or less 400 passengers in June, July 2022, under the Allied umbrella. And we asked to the passenger, are you aware of the decarbonization efforts of the sector? And 82% of the passenger answered no. And only 18% of the passenger answered yes. Then we asked, do you know what are sustainable aviation fuels? So on this, the 18% who asked yes, we know, 94% asked no. So the people doesn't know what are SAF. Only 6% of these know what is SAF. And how would you define SAF? And also here, sustainable aviation fuel, 26%, but 40% of the people answer less polluting fuel. That is a sort of good answer and not good answer, because SAF mainly is contributing to reduce climate change. You know? And then we ask to this passenger if they know that there are other green technology to aviation sector, to decarbonize aviation sector, like electric aircraft and hydrogen. And also here, 84% of the passenger answered no. Only 16% were informed about electric aircraft or hydrogen aircraft. And finally, we asked to these people if they would like to know more about SAF and decarbonization in the aviation sector. And here was split, 50% say yes and 50% say no, more or less. And the 50% that say yes tell us that they would like to know more about SAF with communication on the plane, and this is useful for airlines to know, or 33% with communication in the airport, and 26% with communication on social media. So also here, the airport could play a role to let this knowledge about SAF to spread. So I think I'm finished. Thank you very much.
Ruggero, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Ruggero, one final question before we go to the audience questions. Ruggero, we all expect with the higher ratio of upscaling, the lower prices for sustainable aviation fuel. However, the resistance or the skepticism towards SAF is still there due to the higher price, naturally. How did you manage to overcome the problem to integrate SAF into your plan to meet the potential blending requirement for the Italian market in 2025?
Yeah, that's quite a difficult question. Really, we as a business sector, we have this kind of challenge, but we should try to do all our best to be able to deliver SAF at the airports. We have invested in this European project together with this financing from the European project to be able to bring SAF to the airports and to see that it's possible to do this. Then we are advocating with all the stakeholders in Italy, as Rossella said before, and we really believe that at the end of the day, this will take some results. But also the part of the policy and the blending mandate would be very important, because with the blending mandate, like Fit for 55 refuel EU aviation in Europe or other blending mandate in the US, these are really important to scale up SAF effectively.
Thanks, Ruggero. Your presentations, they triggered a couple of questions, actually. And let me look at my colleague Santi, who has been monitoring them as well. Santi, could you try to share the questions with us that we can all see them on the screen and see who could be best to try to answer these questions? Santi, if you wanna address them.
So yeah, I think you should be able to see now the questions. So
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody in Southeast Asia, and good morning to my European colleagues. Thanks a lot, Ruggero, Rosella. I think it has been very interesting. I mean, covering from policy to the actual practice on how to deliver SAF at airport level. I think you have addressed some of the questions. I saw, for example, you were referring at a certain point, book and claim, about book and claim. So let me highlight this question that you already replied, and I think it has been covered during your second part of the presentation. And looking at book and claim as a very efficient way of reducing the carbon footprint of the fuel that is being actually delivered, although not necessarily delivered to the very same aircraft that is purchased in the south. So let me strike this one out. Then the next one, most voted, and here maybe I just remind the colleagues online that they can go onto Slido and still place additional questions or reaction to the answers that you will hear. So how do you, or how are you able to integrate developing sustainable infrastructure with limited impact to no impact to land use on consumption? I believe that is probably related to obviously the modification of the infrastructure around the airport, and what is the environmental impact as well of those modifications, either in terms of use of soil or terrain, or obviously other environmental impacts.
Yes, I can answer together perhaps with the third question about the expansion of infrastructure. We have in Fiumicino 2 plans. The first one is the refurbishment of existing terminal. There has been an impact study assessment that has been approved by Italian authorities, and we have a plan to refurbish our terminal. That means without closing the infrastructure, to work and to reuse the same infrastructure, but with new standards and new quality of the infrastructure. The second one is the master plan. So we need an expansion to increase the number of passengers we can deal in the airport. And of course, this means that it is necessary the realization of a fourth runway. This master plan is under the discussion with the national aviation authorities. And in this case, we need some more land for the realization of the runway. But we have agreed that we will give back 85 hectares of land nearby an existing runway that we won't need anymore. And this will be made available to citizens. And it's important area because it's very close to an archaeological site. So these are the two ways we are moving.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rosella. And indeed, you are answering two questions, I see. So there is a second question related to the expansion of the infrastructure and also related to the execution of impact assessments. And I understand it's part of your regulatory requirements, something overseen by the Italian authorities that you are providing associated to the plan to grow or to modify the infrastructure, that you provide this assessment, this impact assessment, and is obviously positive and approved by the authority.
The impact assessment also foreseen a monitoring plan of environmental impact during the construction activities and during operational activities.
Okay, indeed, that's quite interesting as well, because in a parallel project, in a sister project that we have also with the Southeast Asian states, we are supporting the implementation of the environmental management system at airport level. And here, obviously, that will be, I understand, the system under which this monitoring and this continuous execution of this monitoring will be conducted. Obviously, the impact assessment being the one standalone kind of assessment, but then all this implementation would be integrated under this management system for environmental issues.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me maybe clarify one question related to it's here I highlight what is section 1, 2, 3 that you mentioned about emissions. I understand, if correct me if I'm wrong, Ruggero or Rosella, we are referring to a scope 1, 2, and 3, and that is, I let you to reply. You are much more knowledgeable in the field, but maybe explain a bit what is a scope 1, 2, and 3. Maybe the audience is not so aware, and what that represents for an airport. For example, now having a very concrete example of the airport.
Yes.
Thank
you.
Ruggero, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're on mute. Ruggero, we cannot hear you.
Doesn't work. Can you go?
Now you're coming back. Yes, it's good.
Now it's good. Okay, sorry. There's some problem with the microphone. So scope 1 emission are the emission directly under the control of the airport. For example, burning gas in the airport or burning fuel for the car is scope 1 emission. While scope 2 emission is the emission coming from purchasing energy. So when an airport purchases electrical energy from the market, this goes in scope 2 emission. So all the emission properly done by the airport are under scope 1 or 2. Scope 3 emission are the scope 3 not under the control of the airport. And the main scope 3 emission for an airport are the emission from jet fuel purchased by the airline. That, as I said before, is around 90% of this total emission, 1, 2, and 3. And then there are another big amount of emission scope 3 that is due to the access of the passenger and the freight to the airport and from the airport.
Okay, quite interesting. So I see the plan that you have put in place is addressing the scopes. I mean, directly what you are emitting, what you are purchasing by reducing let's say the dependence from external sources, and then also what your users, the actors in your facilities, are emitting because, let's say, operating in this environment. And obviously SAF being immediately connected to the scope 3. And I think you, Ruggero, you mentioned 2 elements that were quite interesting for kind of the social implications or the social impact. So first, the role of corporations to address the scope 3 of their own, let's say, inventory, but also this social or societal demand and the awareness of the passengers that are going through your terminals in terms of acknowledging or knowing what are the efforts of the organizations, of the companies working in the airport to reduce CO2 emissions and therefore having a positive impact on environment. And I like a lot I understand you are thinking of the airport as a hub of information. So passengers are being exposed to explanations, in this case to climate change action and what is the positive effect. And I think that is quite an interesting learning from your surveys, and probably how you will translate that into actions, awareness raising campaigns and all that will be also probably something we can dedicate even a webinar for the subject. So let me then address the next one, which is, can we have
Ruggero, Rosella? So we are now 16 minutes in this webinar, and no one has left the stadium so far before the end of the game. So all the participants are still with us. So it shows that I'm not the only one who's excited to get all these very, very tangible and concrete informations from you. It's really, really nice. And maybe it's worthwhile to add another 10, 15 minutes to the webinar, if you still have the time to pass through the remaining questions. So sorry for interrupting. Santi, please go back.
Oh, please. I was not so aware. I am also excited about the information being provided, so I stopped looking at the watch. So if Rosella, Ruggero, you agree, we can at least address the questions that we have already on the screen, and then closing with those. If it would be fine for you, then we can take an extra 10 minutes of your time. Perfect. I see silence as a positive reaction to the proposal. So the question I'm highlighting now is, can we have more information regarding the Sustainable Mobility Fund? Are SAF facilities developments going to be promoted? For the second part, I must confess I'm not really sure what that exactly means. But for the first part of the question, I think it's quite clear. Please, Rosella, Ruggero, whoever you think is best to address the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead,
okay,
please.
Perfect. So no, that depends very much on the local conditions. So from what we understood, also in Europe, but not only in Europe, the law are quite different from state to state. So in some states, the sustainable mobility found, for example, found electric cars with different kind of incentives. In other states, there are no incentive at all. It's really, really different depending on the local policy. And the same are for the SAF facility. The SAF facility development, for example, in Europe, in some way are promoted due to the taxonomy, so they particularly kind of positive impact on the decarbonization, while in some other state, in some other region, they are not promoted. So it depends on which country we are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And indeed, if I indeed take it as, and this relates to previous webinars that we have had, it's a fundamental the role of the state or the government in order to make such a difference. I mean, to incentivize, in this case, the upscale of SAF or the use of SAF and reducing this green premium that the SAF is currently having. So that's, I think it's quite interesting, at least in Italy. I see there have been investments and facilitating the investments for these green funds. Maybe picking a question that could be most relevant for the topic. This is the Pact for Decarbonization a voluntary initiative where aviation stakeholders join freely, basically. Does it bring any benefit, for example, tax exemptions or something like that? And Rosella, I think you were more connected to this.
Yes, it's a voluntary initiatives. All companies that are part of the pact signed an agreement with a commitment to go on with this pact and the roadmap. And at the moment, there are not concrete benefits, but we want to increase the consciousness of institutional stakeholders on the topic, on the problematic, and to find a common roadmap to the decarbonization.
Okay, it's interesting that not having yet probably tangible benefits or direct benefits, this commitment from the different corporations, and I understand also again the role of the state articulating this pact at the state level. Okay, so let's address the last questions. I see we are receiving additional ones, which is again positive indication. So one very specific to the intermodal offer. I think you were referring to the high-speed train connecting to the airport and how this also facilitate the reduction of CO2 emissions by avoiding passengers traveling by car to that facility. Can you, in this case, how is the perception of how the passengers are receiving this intermodal offer? What do you think are the key elements to incentivize this behavior?
Yes, I think it's very important to incentivize that it's easy to access to an intermodal offer. So we are working with air companies to have an integrated ticket, and now a passenger can buy with ITA, Delta, Etihad, for example, an integrated ticket, including the airline ticket and the train ticket. So for me, it's very important that it's easy to buy the ticket. That the second important point is the time frame. So we are working with Trenitalia to have a comfortable timeline of trains arriving in the airport, for example, in the morning or in the evening, to allow not to wait so much between the train and the time the flight departs. And the last point is comfort. So we are still working, is not effective for example, for the luggage. It will be very useful if a passenger can leave the luggage in the station and then make the check-in in the station. So this will be the future development of intermodal offer.
Yeah, indeed, I can confirm this as a frequent flyer, especially
Yes.
traveling from Cologne to Düsseldorf or Frankfurt Airport, especially with Frankfurt, where the ticket is, you can get a combined ticket with flight and train. That is very convenient, as you said. If even you could add the possibility to check in and then forget about the suitcase until the end of your trip, that would be a significant plus.
We're working on that.
Correct. I understand there are some logistical challenges, but it's
Yes.
probably a very important element there. So was there any government incentive given for all stakeholders involved in the supply chain of SAF? So you were referring to the funds you access to. Was it only for you? Was it also for some other partners, for example, airlines participating?
Actually, there are no incentive for the stakeholders involved in the supply chain of SAF. There are under the study, from what we know, but practically there are yet applicable now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. What you receive are green funds, which are not basically incentive; they are just a loan,
Yes.
or directly money accessible for that specific purpose. That is, let's say, meeting the requirements to access to these funds. So
exactly.
Thank you very much. Then the last question from the ones that have been placed by the audience is, from your communications experience, which target groups is the most impactful one to engage with? Can you share your social media account for us to follow? That's an interesting one.
Yes, we are trying to engage a lot with our passenger, and we develop a communication initiative that is called the Aereoporti. We launched it last year to make all passengers aware of all our initiative foreseen by our sustainability plan. And regarding intermodality, just today we are making a video with actors in the airport showing all the possibility for passenger to reach the airport. And this video will be launched on our schemes in the airport. Because I think that when you organize a travel, it's not so easy to have all information. You don't go to the website of the airport, but you go to the website of the air company. So it's the collaboration with air company to promote intermodality and sustainable moving is very important. And also we are very active in social media. So we have campaigns. We try to inform and to promote intermodality and sustainability through our social media. We will share our accounts.
Okay, I suppose, I mean, I'm not probably the best person to speak about social media, but I suppose if you look for Aeroporto di Roma or the acronym, you will find the different channels that you have activated in social media.
Yes.
Okay.
We are present in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on.
Okay, and probably you will also post the recording of this webinar in your social media. We will make it available for you, so also can be replayed and seen, especially on the aspects that we mentioned before. Okay, I think we have reached the last questions, and mindful of the time, I think we have exceeded 15 minutes, but I think that's always the case. So Ralph, I give you back the floor to conclude with the upcoming webinars.
Yeah, let me do that. And let me first of all, again, Ruggero, please, thank you so much for donating your time. Frankly, the organization of these webinars is also opportunity-based. It strongly lives with the willingness and the ability and the readiness for partners to volunteer, to donate the time and the resources to support these activities. So thanks again to the Aeroporto di Roma and to you personally. And we are trying to organize follow-up webinars. The next should be something not similar, but maybe eventually comparable, showcasing a situation from an airport in the region itself. And we are working at the moment with the ACI to get this organized, and we are planning also webinars on the aviation authority roles in the upscale and on sustainability certification schemes. This is all not written in stone, so please, to the audience, stay tuned. There's more to come up, and also thanks to the audience for being with us so frequently and so regularly, and it shows that we are on the right path, and it motivates us to move on and to continue. So thanks to the speakers, thanks to the audience. Have a good rest of the day. Goodbye from Europe here in Cologne, and Ruggero, it's in Italy. I guess you're in Rome itself, and Rosella. Right. Good. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye bye.